Chapter 42 Messing with the Students. After the 3 groups of 20 people passed by the valley, a man wearing a straw hat jumped down from a tree within the forest of the valley. Within his hand was a scoreboard. After he had registered what he needed, he quickly left the forest and headed off to an empty meadow. All 3 of the groups have passed. Amongst them was a wind elemental student named Zhang Xiaohou who has been exceptionally remarkable, the straw hat guy said as he walked into a tent to the man inside it. If the students were here, they would have been shocked as they discovered their practical teachers, as well as the military instructors, were all there. They were all sitting comfortably, eating snacks, and drinking wine. Oh! Zhangkang creased his eyebrow. From Zhangkang's impression, there was no wind elemental student among them called Zhang Xiaohou that had a high cultivation. Whatever, that was normal. Cultivation was just the foundation. The most important part of a magician was actually their head and their courage. Note this name. We can give him a high grade, Zhangkang said toward assistant military instructor Pan Lijun, seated next to him. Pan Lijun nodded her head as she quickly noted Zhang Xiaohu's name. Haha, you battle mages of the stronghold sure know how to play, Zhang Jiangguo laughed. Yeah, first, we directly put the students on the Great Mountains and give them a sense of feeling they'd have no help whatsoever. And then, we discreetly follow them and find the more outstanding students during the process of them completing the mission and give them grades according to that. This idea couldn't be any better. Chen Weiliang also smiled. Yeah, compared to the idling from the past, this can clearly reflect a student's quality. Mrs. Tang Yue also nodded in agreement. If the 100 students who were slandered to the point where they'd sounded like trash knew that their teachers teamed up with the instructors to do this, who knew what kind of faces they would reveal? Teachers and the military instructors naturally couldn't just ignore them. Currently, the things they were studying were indeed not enough for them to survive in the outer regions of the city. However, if they were not given an environment where they could experience the danger, then they would never be able to reach a state of surviving it. Thus, the best method would be treating them cruelly on the surface and then following them in secret. If there were any accidents, they could quickly lend a hand. Chief Zhangkang, I was almost tricked by you. I thought you really were going to be heartless and not allow a single student to pass the practicals, Vice Military Instructor Pan Lijun said. You're wrong there. Those who are useless during the practicals will not pass, Zhangkang stated very directly. This is a bounty. There's no way anyone is capable of completing it. Yeah, I think it's already exceedingly good for them to be able to pass through the Monster Vine region, Chen Weiliang said. Naturally, if it was a real bounty, they would not be able to complete it. Let's not even talk about them. Even the military instructors here wouldn't necessarily be able to complete it, Zhangkang said with a smile. Even military instructors wouldn't necessarily be able to complete it? What does that mean? Zhang Jiangguo asked in puzzlement. It's like this. Since we are making the Den of the One-Eyed Magic Wolf the destination for the students, we would have to ensure that there are no remnants of a one-eyed magic wolf. Thus, we placed a summoner to guard the den. The summoner mage is actually the last test for the students. The den doesn't actually have a magical beast, but there is a summoned beast. Luo Yunbo said with a smile. As the group of teachers listened to this, their eyes began to sparkle. Chen Weiliang, the head of the teachers, immediately began to clap his hands. Smart, very smart. This move is incredibly smart. Shui Mesheng also violently nodded his head. Yeah, we can't let the students face a genuine magical beast yet. There would be numerous casualties. The practicals are for the students to temper their reactions towards a magical beast. If they don't face a magical beast, then the impact of the practical won't be effective. Placing a summoner mage there and having him summon a beast to play the role of a magical beast is extremely fitting. This way, they are able to reach the maximum efficiency of students facing a genuine magical beast, as well as guaranteeing their safety. I'm really thankful to you, Boss Zhangkang, for coming up with such a wonderful practical test. I believe the students will definitely reap a harvest this time. Shui Mesheng said with a slight smile. It's my obligation. Speaking of which, there's only one summoned beast. What if the students are more vicious than what we have imagined and defeat the summoned beasts with their combined force? Mrs. Tang Yue couldn't help but ask. Sigh, Mrs. Tang Yue, you are thinking too much. In our 20 years of teaching at Tianlan Magic High, there has never been a single student who has been able to properly cast their magic on their first meeting with a magical beast. If we were to take a step back, even if they are able to cast their magic spells, these students are only able to cast their primary skill, which cannot wound the muscles of a summoned beast, Zhang Jiangguo said with confidence. Yeah, the strongest amongst elements are fire and lightning. Only Xu Jiaoting, the lightning mage, is able to give the summoned beast a slight challenge. Whereas fire burst can at most give flesh wounds, Chen Weiliang said with a laugh. The teachers and the instructors began to laugh one by one. Indeed, they were very clear on the strengths of each student. The mission on the practicals this time was impossible to complete. All they wanted was for the students to grow during the process of the mission. At least, they would be able to keep notes of all their experiences during the mission. Mrs. Tang Yue didn't laugh at all. She looked toward the valley in the distance that was enveloped in fog. Mo Fan has been in possession of the Stardust magic tool for a whole year. I wonder if his fire burst has reached a higher level. If that would be the case, then he could be the only student that is capable of wounding the summoned beast. Thus, receiving the S grade shouldn't be a problem. Tang Yue thought to herself. Soon after, Tang Yue also shook her head. Being able to fully cast a spell when you were up against a ferocious magical beast would already be quite good. All Tang Yue wished for is for the 100 elite students to not be wiped out during the summoned beast stage. This was because, as long as they were able to cast a spell, then Zhang Kong would be giving them an A on the practical class. An A was already the highest grade a student was able to receive from an instructor on the practicals for many years. Chapter 43 Scheming Everywhere. After passing through the valley and walking past the weeds that were taller than people, everyone finally arrived at the 100 Grass Valley. The 100 Grass Valley had multiple entrances. If you wanted to pass through the ravine, you had to go along those narrow, curved paths. Why does this path have so much rattan? They are all dropping down from the top of the mountain. It looks disgusting, the more delicate girls immediately began to whisper. Tree sticks and grass vines were intertwined on the ground of this narrow path. Some of them looked like a python from a distance, others were tangled on the ground. It looked as though they had walked into a den of black pythons. It was dreadful. It made sense why some of the more cowardly girls were feeling absolutely horrified. It's just some broken vines, what's there to be afraid of? Come, follow me. The time for Wang Sanpeng to show off his heroic side had come, as he walked confidently by himself to the front. Wang Sanpeng's bloated body broke through the wrist-sized vines before him as he strode forward. His physique was indeed very suitable to opening up this kind of path. If he could cross over, then the remaining students could also cross over. Ah! What the heck? What's going on? Oh crap, help me! Help me! Suddenly, Wang Sanpeng let loose a noise that resembled a dog being beaten up from the inside. The students subconsciously took several steps back as they looked around. At the same time, they also felt goosebumps creeping up. It seemed like those vines could move. These twisting vines quickly tied Wang Sanpeng up as he entered the path. Wang Sanpeng's obese physique was then turned upside down. The vines had thistles and thorns on their bodies, so when it tightened, Wang Sanpeng's fat skin was completely ripped, immediately leaving him bloodied. Seeing this, Zhang Yinglu and the other little girls began to shriek uncontrollably. What are you shrieking for? What can you do other than shrieking? The shaky Xu Jiaoting immediately howled at them. Just as he finished what he was saying, Xu Jiaoting returned to where he stood before. The first star emerged as an illusory image in front of Xu Jiaoting's forehead. The magnificent purple hue fascinated the watchers. The stars emerged one by one and linked with each other under Xu Jiaoting's adept control. In a split second, a star path was linked. Lightning strike, Python scar. Xu Jiaoting's lightning skill executed smoothly. A scorching electric arc suddenly emerged in his surroundings. The electric arcs flew toward the narrow paths under the command of Xu Jiaoting, lashing onto the demonic vines that were dragging Wang Sanpeng's plump body away. Bzzzt. The lightning strike caused several scorched stripes to appear on the demonic vines. Although the plant element demonic beasts did not fear the lightning attack, it still caused them to slightly withdraw while they continued to drag Wang Sanpeng away without fear. Save me, save! Wang Sanpeng's shout carried a sobbing tone. However, following this, his mouth was covered by a strip of vine, muffling his cries. Chaos immediately ensued amongst the students. Xu Jiaoting's lightning strike had no effect whatsoever. How would they stop that demonic vine now? Ah! Yet another screech arose. It turned out the demonic vines weren't satisfied with just Wang Sanpeng, as they had already targeted a slender and delicate girl. That girl, called Zheng Yunshia's ankles, were caught by the vines. Zheng Yunxia was a water elemental magician. The problem was that she was too scared to even link her stars, and definitely not able to cast a spell. "Don't panic, let me handle them," Class Representative Jomin yelled out. A fire elemental star path was quickly forming next to Jomin's body. This added a somewhat blazing, impetuous temperament to the originally brave and threatening Jomin. Fire burst. A ball of flames emerged from Jomin's palm before she threw it. The ball of flames was thrown amidst the demonic vines, and a burning sound immediately arose. The scorching flames immediately burned out the middle of the demonic vines. The flames rose, and the speed they spread at was fairly quick. They instantly swallowed a large number of the demonic vines. The demonic vines were extremely afraid of flames. After Jomin cast Fire Burst, the demonic vines quickly withdrew as if they had seen a ghost. The demonic vines also quickly loosened Wang Sanpeng, and he fell heavily onto the ground. Luckily, he fell on his round, fat stomach, or else his face would definitely have been in a bad state. "That was amazing, Class Rep. Fire element is comparatively good." Those demonic vines immediately ran away, pissing themselves. "Yeah, Class Rep is formidable." As the group of students saw most of the demonic vines retreating, each one of them began to throw in compliments. Xu Jiaoting, the proud lightning element user, was standing there with an ugly face. Plant creatures had an innate resistance against the lightning element. It was something he couldn't do anything about. Mo Fan was also standing to the side watching. He didn't use any fire spells at all. Either way, Class Rep Jomin was able to handle those demonic vines. There was no need for him to pull any moves. Furthermore, Jomin's Fire Burst was still at the first level, whereas his own Fire Burst had changed since the day they left for the practicals. A small demonic vine, there's no need for this daddy to do anything. I was also able to save some mana. Jomin greatly spread her powers, causing all the demonic vines who wanted to attack the girls to retreat. At this kind of time, the power of the fire element was being fully utilized. Fire Burst's effectiveness was way more tyrannical than the spells from other elements. "Jomin, fire element girl. This lady is definitely to my liking," said head military instructor Zhang Kong as he stroked his mustache back in his tent. "Currently, the first group should be the fastest. Amongst the first group, there are many exceptionally talented students," Zhang Jiangguo ventured. "The first group's fire magician is a loser. He was unable to cast any spells when he was up against the demonic vines. In the end, it was that student called Mu Bai who froze the demonic vines. They are the fastest ones to reach the 100 Grass Valley. Soon enough, they will encounter the summoned wolf beast. The real test for them is finally here. The summoned wolf beast won't injure the students, right? Being injured is inevitable. Breaking a few bones is also very common. However, our summoner Mage and his summoned wolf beast will behave appropriately," Pan Lijun said. "In that case, how about we give him a call to remind him? If the students are injured too heavily, it could affect their attempt at university. There's no signal in the valley. There's no need to worry. Baiyang knows the severity of this," Luo Yunbo said. "Baiyang? Isn't that the dead light element magician?" Tang Yue was startled. Zhang Kong laughed. "That was made up. He is the summoner of our Snowy Peak mountain station that is left within the den of One-Eyed Wolf. However, the blue bracelet does exist. It's within that den." Tang Yue remained silent. This head military instructor had schemes going everywhere. She didn't know whether those students would be able to safely pass through.